When a frightened German shepherd is found trapped deep in the woods, the whole town turns away, except for one brave child. Watch how a simple act of courage not only saves the German shepherd, but also uncovers a shocking secret that shakes the entire community. If you believe in the power of hope, loyalty, and the unstoppable spirit of a German shepherd, you can't miss this story. Make sure to subscribe for more inspiring true stories and heartwarming German shepherd adventures. It was one of those dusky Oregon evenings where the world felt half asleep, the air soft with mist, and the wild tang of early spring. Shadows stretched across the backyard fences at the edge of Lily Parker's neighborhood, licking at the silent line of fir trees that separated the safety of suburbia from the uncharted woods beyond. Most kids her age were indoors, glued to cartoons or nestled in the safe glow of their kitchens. But not Lily. 5 years old, fiercely empathetic, her mind bursting with stories, Lily was always drawn to the forgotten corners where no one else dared to look. Her sneakers squished into muddy grass as she pressed her ear to the wind. That's when she heard it, a sound so faint, so choked with pain she thought at first she'd imagined it. Then it came again, a desperate, whimpering cry. Not a coyote, not a raccoon, something bigger, something hurting. Curiosity slammed into fear inside her chest. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. "Don't you dare go into those woods, Lily. Not alone, not ever." But the sound twisted her heart, squeezed her imagination, until all she could see was some poor creature suffering. The house behind her glowed yellow and warm, the dinner table set, her mom and older brother Noah bickering inside, oblivious. Lily looked back once, then darted for the tree line, ducking under the drooping branches, mud splattering up her jeans. The deeper she went, the thicker the air seemed to pulse with urgency. She saw him, no, her, at the base of a thorny old maple, half hidden by brambles. A German shepherd, massive and ragged, her fur streaked with blood, her body wound tight with cruel metal wires biting into her skin. The dog's eyes were wild, haunted, full of a desperate plea for help, but also the battered, flickering hope of someone who has not entirely given up. Lily stopped a few feet away, heart in her throat. The two stared at each other in silence, broken only by the trembling whimpers of the dog and the relentless drip of spring rain from the branches. The smell of rust and fear stung Lily's nose. She crouched low, her hands shaking, not daring to reach out yet. "Hey there," she whispered, her voice as gentle as a breeze. "It's okay. I see you. I promise I'll help." The dog's tail gave a tentative twitch. Her breathing shuddered. It took everything Lily had not to burst into tears. Instead, she slid off her jacket and slowly inched forward, ignoring the sharp branches scratching at her arms. She reached out, palm up, and the shepherd pressed her muzzle into Lily's trembling hands. Lily stroked her gently, feeling the dog's muscles slowly, minutely relax. The world outside the woods faded. For a moment, it was just Lily and this suffering animal, locked in a silent pact of trust. But she knew she couldn't do it alone. "I'll come back," she whispered. "I swear I'll come back. Just hang on, please." She tore herself away, sprinting home with wet socks, muddy hands, and a heart heavy with a secret. Bursting through the door, she pleaded for help. "Mom, Noah, there's a hurt dog in the woods. She needs help. She's bleeding. She's trapped." Her mother, Emily, already worn out from work, barely looked up. "Not tonight, Lily. You know those woods are dangerous, and you let your imagination run wild. Sit down and eat." Noah, 14 and skeptical, just rolled his eyes. "You and your stories, Lil. Maybe it was a raccoon." But Lily saw the way his eyes flickered with doubt. No one believed her, and the weight of that loneliness, so much heavier than any fear, settled on her shoulders. Still, she refused to give up. She snuck scissors and snacks into her backpack that night, tucking her flashlight under her pillow, heart beating fast with a plan taking root. Hours later, while the house was still and the world outside seemed even darker, Lily tiptoed to her window, whispering a silent promise into the night. Her tiny fist clenched around the scissors. She slipped into her boots, the kitchen clock ticking loud in her ears. The moonlight painted silver bars on her floor as she looked back one last time at the sleeping forms of her family. Out in the yard, the woods loomed even more forbidding than before. Every snapped twig sounded like a warning, every gust of wind like a whispered threat. But Lily's resolve, her stubborn, tender-hearted bravery, pushed her forward. She thought of the shepherd's haunted eyes, of the fragile hope she'd seen flicker there. She disappeared into the shadows, a small figure swallowed up by the dark, determined to rescue a soul no one else even believed existed. As the night deepened and the rain fell harder, the only light was the glint of her flashlight and the quiet, unwavering courage in her chest. The clock in the Parker house blinked 12:37 as Lily pressed her small hands against the cold glass of her bedroom window, watching the wind shake the pines. Her mind churned with fear and hope, a storm just as wild as the one outside. She'd barely slept. The memory of the German shepherd's eyes, pleading, bright with pain, had burrowed deep under her skin. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the cruel wires biting through fur and flesh, the soft muzzle trembling under her touch. The world was asleep, the only sounds a distant train and the hush of rain-pelting rooftops. Lily crept out from under her covers, listening for any sign of Noah or her mom stirring, but the house was silent, just the way she needed it. She zipped her raincoat, stuffed the scissors and snacks in her old pink backpack, and pulled on boots 2 sizes too big. Each step across the hallway carpet felt enormous, like she was stepping away from everything she'd ever known. In the kitchen she hesitated, her mother's stern warning echoing in her head, not alone, not ever. But Lily's hands were already shaking as she slipped outside. The back door groaned, but no one woke. The wet grass soaked her socks instantly. Somewhere beyond the fence, the woods beckoned, dark and alive. Lily paused just inside the trees, every instinct telling her to turn back. But she remembered the shepherd's silent suffering. She pressed on, whispering, "Hang in there, I'm coming." Her flashlight beam bounced along the undergrowth, carving a path through tangled shadows. She ducked under drooping limbs, her backpack catching on brambles. Each snap of a twig jolted her heart, but she didn't stop. The storm had grown teeth. Lightning flickered in the distance, thunder rolling low and mean. Still, Lily crawled through the thicket until she found the maple where she'd seen the dog. "Amber?" she whispered, the name coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. At first nothing, just the restless sigh of the wind and her own shaky breath. Then, a movement, a faint, desperate whimper. Lily dropped to her knees, crawling closer. Her flashlight found the shepherd, Amber, curled tight, flinching at the sudden light but not turning away. Rain ran in rivulets down her muzzle, washing away blood in thin pink streams. Lily's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the scissors. "It's okay, Amber. I'm here." She pushed her fear down, inching closer until she could touch the rough, matted fur. "You're not alone anymore, I promised." The dog trembled but didn't try to bite. In fact, when Lily stroked her head, Amber leaned in, just a little, just enough to trust. The wires had dug in deep. Lily set the snacks beside her, then whispered, "I'm going to cut you free, okay? Hold on. You're so brave." Each snip was agony. Amber flinched, whined, but she never lashed out. Lily felt the sticky warmth of blood on her fingers. Rainwater mixed with tears as she struggled with the last, toughest wire, the metal refusing to yield. Finally, with a snap, it broke. Amber sagged, panting, her body shaking with pain and relief. Lily ripped open a granola bar and held it out. Amber sniffed, licked, then ate ravenously. Lily poured juice into a plastic lid, watching Amber lap it up, thirst overpowering fear. In the brief moments when the dog's eyes met hers, Lily saw gratitude. A silent, aching kind of thank you. When Amber finished, she licked Lily's cheek, a warm, rough touch that made Lily gasp. She wanted to stay, wanted to carry Amber home and curl up beside her. But Amber, now free, nudged Lily's hand with her nose, as if to say, "Go. Be safe. I'll be all right." With one last look, soft, lingering, hopeful, Amber limped away into the shadows, vanishing beneath the dripping trees. Lily sat in the mud, soaked and shaking. She should have felt triumphant, but all she felt was raw, bone-deep relief mixed with terror. Had she done enough? Would Amber survive the night? Her chest tightened as thunder cracked overhead. She scrambled to her feet, wiping her face with her sleeve. The world seemed enormous and uncaring, but she clung to the memory of that grateful look. Getting home was even harder. The woods were wilder in the storm, every shadow a threat, every gust of wind a ghost. Lily stumbled, falling twice before making it back to the yard. She climbed through her bedroom window. Mud streaked up her arms, heart pounding so loud she thought it might wake the whole house. She lay awake until dawn, every nerve on fire. Did Amber make it? Would she forgive her for leaving her alone? The next morning, Lily crept out early, desperate to find some sign the dog was okay. The spot by the maple was empty, nothing but torn wires and muddy paw prints. Lily left food and water, whispering, "Come back, please." But each day, the clearing remained empty. Still, she returned, again and again. She left drawings in a plastic bag, little notes, pieces of her own hope. She even brought one of Noah's old blankets, hoping Amber might find comfort in the smell. The woods began to feel like another home, each visit proof that she wasn't the only one searching for connection. Then, one morning, Lily gasped, a fresh paw print pressed in mud right beside her drawing. A streak of golden fur snagged on a bush, proof that Amber had been there, proof that she'd survived, that maybe, just maybe, she was starting to trust. Lily hugged herself, beaming through tears. She wasn't alone anymore, not in her fear, not in her hope. In the hush of those woods, a new promise grew. She would keep coming back, no matter how long it took. The world had grown thick with spring thunder. Fat raindrops drummed on the windows of Lily's tiny bedroom, casting watery shadows on her drawings taped above the headboard. For days, she'd waited, hope and worry flickering inside her like lightning behind the clouds. She never told her mother or Noah where she slipped away each afternoon, but her rain boots stayed muddy, her mind always half in the woods, half at home. Every time she checked the clearing, she found new proof that Amber was alive. The dog never let Lily see her directly, just muddy paw prints, a gnawed corner of granola bar, sometimes a tangled swirl of golden fur. It was a secret world between girl and dog, built on silent trust, each visit like tossing a wish into a well and waiting for a ripple. Then one night, the storm cracked open the sky. Rain battered the roof, thunder shook the window panes, and the power flickered out, plunging the house into a quiet, electric dark. Lily huddled under her blankets, flashlight pressed close, pretending she was brave. She told herself stories about brave girls and faithful dogs lost in the wild, finding each other against all odds. But the house felt lonelier than ever. Noah snoring in the next room, Mom asleep with the TV still glowing blue in the living room. A noise made Lily freeze, a faint, scratching tap, almost lost in the storm. At first she thought it was a branch or just the wind, but then it came again, insistent, hopeful. Lily crawled to the window, heart pounding. She peeled back the curtain and gasped. Amber stood outside in the wild rain, soaked to the skin, sides heaving. Her ears flattened in shame and exhaustion, her eyes raw with something like apology. Lightning flashed, illuminating every scar along Amber's legs, the mud caked into the long fur. She pressed one paw against the wall beneath Lily's window, as if asking permission to come inside. For a moment, Lily was too stunned to move. Then she scrambled to unlock the window, hauling it open with a grunt. Rain slapped her face as Amber pushed her nose inside, shivering so violently Lily could see it in her bones. "Shh, it's okay, Lily whispered, her hands gentle as she reached to steady the big dog. She tugged Amber into the room, careful not to bang her wounds. Amber crept across the floor, leaving a trail of muddy paw prints, and slumped beneath the bed, her sides rising and falling. Lily grabbed an old towel, drying her off as best she could. The dog flinched at first, then, inch by inch, relaxed, letting the girl rub warmth back into her trembling muscles. For a long time, they sat together in the storm-lit dark, the silence broken only by the soft hum of Lily's voice. She sang the old lullaby her mother used to sing before bedtime, barely above a whisper. "You're safe now, Amber. No one's going to hurt you here." Amber's head dropped onto Lily's lap, a sigh of relief escaping her throat. The first true sign of trust. Lily smiled through tears she didn't even notice. You're so brave, you know that. I wish I was half as brave as you. Amber lifted her eyes, meeting Lily's, and something wordless passed between them. An understanding, raw and new. The bedroom door creaked. Noah's silhouette filled the doorway, his hair wild, eyes squinting against the flashlight glare. Lily, what are you doing up? His voice stopped cold when he saw the German shepherd, mud-caked and shivering, curled under the bed. Noah swore softly, backing away. Mom's going to kill you. Lily shook her head fiercely, throwing herself in front of Amber. Please, Noah, she's hurt. She didn't have anywhere else to go. She trusts me. Her voice wobbled, but she kept her chin up, determined. Noah hesitated, looking from the battered dog to his little sister. He could see the cuts along Amber's legs, the places where fur had been shaved or torn away. He saw how the big shepherd shrank back, eyes full of fear, but didn't snarl or snap. Jeez, Lil. What happened to her? He whispered, kneeling down. I don't know, Lily replied softly, but I think somebody hurt her bad. She grabbed a box of old bandages from her desk, handing them to Noah. He hesitated, then started cleaning Amber's wounds, gentle despite his shaking hands. The shepherd licked his knuckles, her tongue warm and grateful. Fine, Noah said at last, voice gruff but soft. But we can't tell Mom. If she finds out, she'll call animal control for sure. For the first time, Lily noticed real fear in her brother's eyes, fear for the dog and maybe for himself too. So the siblings made a pact. Amber would be their secret, hidden from Mom, from the neighbors, from anyone who might want to take her away. They made her a nest of old blankets beneath Lily's bed, smuggled her scraps from dinner, and kept the window open just wide enough for her to come and go in the night. In the storm's lull, Lily drifted off, hand buried in Amber's soft fur. She dreamed of woods and rain, of running beside her friend, untethered and free. The next week blurred into a strange, beautiful routine. During the day, Amber vanished, gone to some secret hiding spot. But every evening, she returned to Lily's window, tail thumping softly, healing a little more each time. Sometimes, Lily would whisper stories about the stars or her dreams of being a hero. Other nights, she just lay close, letting Amber's steady breathing lull her to sleep. Noah became Amber's unofficial nurse, learning to clean wounds and change bandages. He read books on dogs, printed out guides from the library. The more he learned about Amber, the more he realized how much pain she'd endured, and how much courage it took to trust again. For a while, it was enough. The three of them, girl, boy, dog, built a secret haven inside four walls, a hidden world where scars didn't matter, and kindness was the only rule. But even as Amber healed, Lily knew this couldn't last forever. Secrets had a way of growing heavy, of leaking out when you least expected, and sooner or later, the outside world would come knocking. Rain lashed the Parkers' neighborhood for days, the sky locked in gray, as if refusing to let the world dry out or rest. The houses huddled together, their windows fogged, front lawns puddled and wild. Lily watched from behind the living room curtain, the warmth of Amber's fur still lingering on her hands from the night before. She was always listening now, not just for Amber's quiet taps at her window, but for every voice in the neighborhood, every rumor that blew in on the wind. It started as a whisper at the grocery store. Someone saw a big dog slinking through the backyards, limping. Then a neighbor's cat went missing, another's trash cans overturned in the night. By Sunday, the whispers had turned to warnings. If animal control catches that beast, she won't last a day. Lily heard it all as her mother chatted with Mrs. Delaney, voices low, glancing nervously at the woods. Lily's stomach knotted with guilt and fear. She pressed her hand against her jacket pocket, where a dog tag she'd found tangled in Amber's fur was hidden. There was something carved on it, but the name was scratched beyond recognition. Only the last letter, a T, stood out. Noah, meanwhile, was on high alert. He'd taped cardboard over the crawl space where Amber sometimes hid during the day and double-checked the locks on Lily's window each night. We can't keep her forever, Lil, he whispered, eyes darting to the hall where Emily shuffled, exhausted from room to room. What if someone finds out? But Lily shook her head. She trusts us. We can't let her down now. That afternoon, the world shifted. There was a knock at the door, steady, heavy. Emily answered, a practiced smile on her face, but Lily could hear the wariness in her tone. A tall man stood on the porch, dripping water from a battered raincoat. His voice was deep but gentle, threaded with weariness. "Sorry to bother you. I'm Marcus Rivera. I'm looking for my lost dog, a German Shepherd. She's trained, but she's been missing since last month." He held up a faded photo, a proud, alert shepherd in a police canine vest, her eyes alive with intelligence. Lily froze, heart pounding. She knew those eyes, even with the happiness in the photo faded behind weeks of suffering. Emily shook her head, apologetic but distant. "Sorry, we haven't seen any dogs like that around here. Good luck." She closed the door a little too quickly, worry already wrinkling her brow. Lily pressed her face to the window, watching Marcus trudge down the sidewalk, shoulders heavy with loss. As he rounded the corner, Lily saw his hand tremble, the way he kept glancing at the photo as if afraid to forget. Amber was somewhere in the house, hidden and silent, her secret safe for another day, but nothing stayed secret for long. That evening, as Lily and Noah patched up one of Amber's cuts, Noah turned his laptop toward her, the screen flickering with a local news page. "Look, Lily, there's something weird about that guy's story." He pointed to a headline, "Missing Police K9 Linked to Botched Drug Raid." The article was dense, full of words Lily barely understood: corruption, whistleblower, revenge, but one part burned into her mind. Scout, a 5-year-old German Shepherd, went missing after her handler, Officer Marcus Rivera, accused colleagues of falsifying evidence. Noah's voice dropped low. "If Amber is Scout, someone wanted her gone, and not just because she's a dog." Lily traced Amber's scar with her finger, her thoughts tangled. She felt a new ache in her chest, not just fear of losing her friend, but a sharp guilt for hiding her. Amber, Scout, wasn't just lost. She'd been stolen, maybe hurt on purpose, and now her owner was searching for her, risking everything to get her back. That night, Lily listened as the rain battered the roof. In the dark, she heard Amber's slow, careful steps, the way she always moved now, never fully trusting the world around her. Lily slipped to the floor beside her, wrapping her arms around the shepherd's neck. "You have a real home out there, don't you?" she whispered. "Someone who misses you. But I still want you to stay." Amber's eyes were old and wise, sadness and gratitude swirling together. She licked Lily's cheek and rested her head on the girl's lap. The next day, the tension in the house was thick enough to taste. Emily snapped at small things, always checking the locks, frowning when she thought no one noticed. The phone rang, a strange, clipped voice asking if they'd seen a dangerous dog. Lily caught Emily's eyes, both of them flinching with the same secret. Late that afternoon, a different knock came, heavier, sharper, with an edge that set everyone's teeth on edge. A tall man in a suit stood on the porch, Detective Morrison, his presence calm but cold, eyes scanning the house as if he could see right through the walls. "I'm investigating some animal disturbances in the neighborhood," he said, every word wrapped in politeness that felt like a warning. "You haven't seen a German Shepherd, have you?" Emily denied it. Noah's hands shook behind his back. Lily watched Amber, who'd crept to the hallway, crouched low, body tensed. When Morrison's voice drifted through the doorway, Amber's ears went flat, a low growl vibrating in her chest, so soft only Lily heard it. After he left, Marcus returned, rain dripping from his hat, hope and grief mixing in his eyes. This time he spoke quietly, urgency and heartbreak etched into every word. "Scout isn't just a pet. She's the only one who knows what really happened that night. Morrison, he's not who he seems. I think he wants her silenced." He handed Emily a manila folder. "Evidence," he said. "Papers, photos, and letters about what happened the night Scout disappeared. Please, if you see her, if you have her, don't let him get to her first." That night, as darkness settled in and the Parker house seemed smaller than ever, Lily sat in her room, arms wrapped tight around Amber. The world outside was growing dangerous, filled with secrets and threats she couldn't understand. But her promise to Amber was clear and unbreakable. She would protect her friend, no matter what it cost. The light had a strange quality at dusk, a deep amber glow that stretched the shadows long and thin across the Parker living room. It felt like the world was holding its breath, waiting. Every surface in the house seemed to hum with nervous energy. Amber, Scout, hadn't left Lily's side all day. She'd tucked herself behind the couch, ears pricked, tail rigid. Her wounds were healing, but something in her posture said the danger wasn't over. Lily stroked her head, trying to pass her courage into the dog's trembling muscles. Noah paced, eyes flicking to the windows every few seconds. "You think he'll come back?" he whispered, barely moving his lips. Lily nodded. The way Detective Morrison's cold blue gaze had swept the house, it was like he'd already decided their secret, like he was waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. Even Emily, usually so brisk and sure, had started triple-checking the doors, flinching at every car that slowed on their street. That night, just as the sun slipped behind the trees, there was another knock, a single, insistent rap at the door that sent the air crackling. Emily's hands froze on the kitchen counter. She turned to Noah and Lily, voice tight as a wire. "Don't say a word. I'll handle this." Emily opened the door just a crack, enough for Morrison's silhouette to spill into the entryway. His presence felt heavier this time, his polite mask a little thinner. "Evening, Ms. Parker. Sorry to bother you again. Just a few more questions." His voice was smooth as glass, but there was something coiled underneath. Lily ducked behind the staircase, heart hammering. Noah stood beside her, a protective hand on her shoulder. Amber crept closer, her hackles raised, lips pulled back in silent warning. Morrison's eyes swept over the room. "I understand you have children, Ms. Parker. Must be tough, keeping them safe these days, with all these stray dogs running around." Emily's hands twisted together. "My children are inside. We're fine, Detective. We haven't seen any dogs." Morrison smiled, but his gaze snagged on a muddy paw print by the back door, a detail no one else would have noticed. You sure about that?" He stepped inside, uninvited, his shoes leaving neat, wet prints on the entry rug. Lily felt her breath catch. Amber tensed, pressing herself between Lily and the detective, muscles tight as a bowstring. For a second, Morrison just stared, then his eyes narrowed. "Funny thing about these animals," he said, his tone almost friendly. "Sometimes the ones that look the most loyal turn out to be the most dangerous." Noah stepped forward, planting himself between Morrison and Amber. His voice was steady, but his fists were clenched. "We told you. We haven't seen anything." Amber's body trembled, but she held her ground, gaze locked on Morrison. Lily could feel the fear rippling off the dog, but also a fierce protectiveness she'd never seen before. Morrison crouched, his face inches from Amber's. "She looks familiar," he said quietly. "You sure you've never seen a dog like this before?" His hand twitched as if he wanted to reach out, but Amber's low, guttural growl stopped him cold. Emily cleared her throat, her voice almost shaking. "Detective, I think you should leave now." Morrison rose slowly, his polite smile gone. "Of course," he said, but there was a chill in his tone. "Just remember, if you're hiding something, it never stays hidden for long." He stepped back out into the night, shutting the door harder than he needed to. For a moment, no one moved. The only sound was the pounding of Lily's heart and the distant thrum of tires on wet pavement. But before anyone could speak, the doorbell rang again. This time, when Emily opened it, Marcus Rivera stood in the amber light, soaked to the bone but determined. He held out a bundle of papers, a folder thick with documents, photos, and grainy surveillance shots. "You need to see this," he said, his voice low. "It's proof. Morrison's been following me for weeks. He knows Scout is the only witness left. He wants her gone." Emily led Marcus into the kitchen, glancing nervously at the window. Lily hovered in the doorway, listening as Marcus spilled the truth. The corruption, the night of the raid, the threats that started when he refused to stay silent. "Scout didn't just get lost," Marcus said. "She was taken. I think Morrison arranged it, tried to make me look unfit, hoped no one would ever find out what he'd done." Noah's eyes were wide, hands gripping the edge of the table. "So, he's watching us?" Marcus nodded grimly. "He'll do anything to cover his tracks. Scout is the only thing standing between him and getting away with it." Suddenly, Amber lifted her head, ears pricked. She darted to the living room window, growling, the fur on her back bristling. Lily followed, peeking through the curtain, and her breath hitched. A dark sedan idled at the curb, engine rumbling, headlights off. Morrison sat behind the wheel, eyes fixed on the Parker house. Emily pulled the curtains tight, her hands shaking. "We can't stay here," she whispered. "He's not going to stop." Marcus turned to Lily and Noah, his expression gentle but urgent. "Scout is brave, but she needs your help. We have to keep her safe." "I promise. I won't let anything happen to her or to you." Lily hugged Amber tight, feeling the dog's heart pounding against her ribs. She tried to remember the feeling of hope from those first days, the belief that kindness was enough to keep darkness at bay. Now, all she felt was fear and the electric tension of being hunted. Noah glanced at the locked back door, his voice shaking. "What do we do now?" Marcus looked each of them in the eyes. "We stand together, we watch out for each other, and no matter what Morrison tries, Scout doesn't go anywhere alone. She stays with us. Family." Outside, the sun had vanished, leaving only the thin, trembling light of the street lamps and the steady, silent threat of the dark car waiting at the curb. The Parkers huddled together, knowing that the night ahead would test every ounce of their courage, and in the shadows, Morrison watched, planning his next move. The storm broke just after midnight, flinging sheets of rain at the Parker house and rattling the windows so hard that Lily woke in a cold sweat, her breath fogging in the darkness. Thunder cracked overhead, shaking the tiny glass figurines on her shelf. For a moment, she thought it was just another bad dream, one where the world was always stormy and Morrison's shadow crept across every wall. But then she heard Amber's low, warning growl from the hallway and knew this was no nightmare. The whole family had gathered earlier in the living room. Amber curled at Lily's feet, Marcus hunched over a mug of coffee, Emily pale and determined, Noah checking the locks for the 10th time. They'd made a plan: keep the lights off, keep Amber close, and call the police at the first sign of trouble. Still, the air inside the house felt too tight, too thin. Outside, the wind screamed through the trees, and every branch tapping the roof sounded like footsteps. When the front gate squealed open, Marcus was the first to move. He pressed a finger to his lips, signaled Emily to get her phone ready. Noah darted to the window and lifted the edge of the curtain, heart pounding in his ears. "He's here," Noah whispered. "That's Morrison's car. He's alone." Before Emily could dial, the side door rattled. There was a muffled curse, a glint of metal in the porch light. Morrison forced the lock with a practiced twist, too fast, too easy. He slipped inside, gun drawn, his wet shoes leaving prints on the kitchen tiles. Lightning lit his face in stark flashes, eyes hollow with desperation. Emily shoved Lily and Noah behind the couch, grabbing her own phone with shaking hands. She dialed Marcus's number, barely breathing, as Morrison's footsteps echoed down the hallway. Marcus didn't wait. He slipped out the back, circling to the porch where Morrison had broken in, hoping to draw the man's attention away from the kids. Amber flattened herself against Lily, tail between her legs, every muscle straining to run, but refusing to leave Lily's side. Morrison stalked through the house like he owned it, pausing in the hallway, gun scanning each dark doorway. "Come out," he barked, his voice edged with panic. "You know why I'm here. I just want the dog." The sound was so sharp, so wrong, that even Amber whimpered, pressed tight to the floor. Lightning flashed again, and Morrison caught a glimpse of movement in the living room. Just a flicker, but enough. He moved faster, rounding the corner, gun raised. The room exploded in confusion. Emily screaming for help, Noah diving in front of Lily, Amber surging up with a bark that rattled the walls. Morrison fired a shot into the ceiling. "Back! I said back!" His voice was raw, every word spitting fear. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. The rain, the thunder, the terror in Lily's chest. Then Amber leapt, teeth bared, throwing herself between Morrison and the kids. The force of her attack knocked Morrison sideways, his gun clattering across the floor. Amber snapped at his wrist, not to maim, but to defend, her body a shield between danger and her family. Morrison roared in pain, shoving her away, but Amber wouldn't back down. Lightning seared the room with white light. Outside, Marcus banged on the window, yelling for Morrison to stop. Lily crawled to Noah, grabbing his hand, dragging him toward the hallway. "Move," she hissed, voice choked with terror. Emily lunged for the phone, dialing 911 with frantic hands. "There's a man in our house. He's armed. Please, hurry." Morrison staggered to his feet, rage twisting his face. He reached for Amber, cursing. Amber snapped again, this time grazing his sleeve, keeping him back. Her growls were wild but purposeful, never letting Morrison near the children. For a second their eyes met, dog and man, each recognizing the other's pain and anger. But Amber's resolve was unbreakable. The storm outside rose to a fever pitch, wind howling, rain beating on the walls. Morrison lunged, trying to shove Amber aside, but Marcus burst through the door, flashlight beam cutting through the chaos. "Enough," Marcus shouted. "You're finished, Morrison. The police are coming." Morrison spun, desperate, but Marcus blocked his escape. Amber stood in front of Lily, teeth bared, every inch of her body shaking but unyielding. Noah grabbed Lily, pulled her toward the stairs. Emily crouched beside them, her arms thrown wide, determined to shield her children from any harm. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Then, in a blur, Morrison grabbed for his weapon, but Amber was faster. She barreled into him, knocking him to the floor just as police sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus pounced, pinning Morrison's arm until the gun skittered away. Red and blue lights filled the storm-drenched windows. Police officers poured into the house, shouting commands. In seconds, Morrison was cuffed, forced to his knees, his mask of control finally broken. Lily clung to Amber, burying her face in the shepherd's wet fur. She could feel Amber's heart thundering, could smell the sharp, earthy scent of rain and adrenaline. "You saved us," she whispered, her voice raw with relief and awe. Amber pressed her nose to Lily's cheek, tail wagging weakly. For the first time, she didn't flinch at the sound of shouting men or the chaos of strangers crowding the house. She had faced her greatest fear, not the dark, not the storm, not even pain. She had faced the thing that had stolen her freedom and found the strength to fight for the family she loved. Marcus dropped to his knees, gathering Lily and Noah into his arms. "You're safe now. All of you. It's over." But as the storm raged and the house filled with police, Lily knew something had changed forever. The world outside was still dangerous, still wild, but inside, where Amber stood guard, tail high, scars shining, there was hope. Dawn crawled over the battered Parker house, pale light slowly chasing away the shadows and sirens. The storm had blown itself out, leaving the yard littered with broken branches, a gutter dangling, and bits of police tape fluttering like ribbons from the porch rail. Inside, every room felt changed, the furniture shoved aside by the scuffle, muddy paw prints on the hardwood, the unmistakable residue of fear finally dissolving into something softer, relief, exhaustion, and a cautious hope. The police had stayed all night. They'd taken Morrison away in handcuffs, the look on his face a mixture of disbelief and naked rage. More officers came, some whispering, some openly staring at the famous German shepherd who'd survived so much and against all odds helped save a family. Scout, Amber, rested on a blanket by the couch, her head in Lily's lap, breathing slow but steady. She never left Lily's side, even as the house filled with strangers and questions. It was a blur of uniforms, questions, and the relentless flash of camera bulbs as dawn bled into morning. Detective Lacey, a woman with tired eyes but a gentle manner, sat beside Lily, her notepad ready. "I know it's been a rough night, sweetheart, but I have to ask, can you tell me what happened?" Lily nodded, voice shaking but clear as she recounted the break-in, Morrison's threats, and how Amber had stood between them and danger. She spoke slowly, leaving nothing out, each word solid and true. Marcus stood nearby, hands still trembling. He'd never looked prouder, even when he was holding back tears. Scout saved them. "She recognized Morrison even before we did," Detective Lacey scribbled furiously. "That's not surprising. Dogs remember things, especially things that hurt." Then she turned to Marcus, eyes narrowing. "Why do you think Morrison came after you, after Scout?" Marcus hesitated, then opened the thick folder he'd brought. Inside were years' worth of notes, emails, copies of internal reports, all the proof he'd gathered about Morrison's corruption. "He's been running drugs with 2 other officers for years. I caught on, tried to report it, and suddenly Scout disappeared. Morrison framed me, made it look like I'd lost control. I almost lost my badge, but Scout, She's always been my partner. She remembered. She survived. His voice cracked, the relief nearly overwhelming. Reporters crowded the street by midday, cameras aimed at the front door. Local family saves missing police dog, the headlines would say. Corrupt detective arrested after heroic stand. Noah found it surreal, waving off questions as he cleaned the blood off Amber's paws, gentle as always. When the press conference started, Lily and Noah stood in front of the house, flanked by Marcus and Scout. The crowd fell quiet as Marcus took the microphone, his voice rough with emotion. I thought I lost my partner forever. I thought the truth would die with her. But I was wrong. Sometimes it's the smallest voice, like Lily's, that refuses to be silenced. Sometimes it's the courage of a child or the loyalty of a dog that brings justice to the world. A cheer rose from the crowd. Scout sat up, pressing her nose into Lily's palm as if to share the spotlight. Someone handed Lily a bouquet of daisies, and she blushed, burying her face in Amber's fur. Reporters jostled, microphones shoved forward. Lily, did you know Scout was special? Noah, what was it like helping her heal? Lily shrugged, cheeks burning. I just knew she needed someone to believe in her, that's all. Inside the police station, things moved even faster. Morrison's crimes came spilling out, evidence of bribery, threats, even the attempt on Scout's life. He didn't deny any of it. In the face of overwhelming proof and the quiet courage of the Parkers and Marcus, the mask dropped. His confession sent shockwaves through the department. Emily watched it all unfold, pride and relief etched across her face. For the first time, she let Scout curl up on the living room rug, stroking the dog's scarred neck, whispering, "Thank you for protecting my family." Noah joined her, arms slung awkwardly around both his mother and the shepherd, a smile breaking through the fatigue. A few days later, the police held a special ceremony in the station's main hall. The chief pinned a silver star to Scout's collar. For extraordinary bravery and loyalty, he announced, his voice ringing with genuine respect. Cameras flashed as Scout wagged her tail, almost smiling as Lily and Marcus knelt beside her. For Lily and Noah, the aftermath felt almost unreal. They were local celebrities overnight, neighbors dropping off casseroles, kids whispering in awe at school. Yet, for Lily, none of that mattered as much as the weight of Amber, Scout, pressing against her as she fell asleep. The world outside finally quiet for a moment. The real change, though, happened inside the hearts of everyone who'd witnessed it. The police department opened an independent investigation into Morrison's network, pledging to reform policies and create programs for transparency and compassion. News outlets covered Scout's journey from wounded stray to hero, her story lighting up screens and inspiring thousands to reconsider how they treated both animals and each other. Marcus hugged Lily tightly one morning, his eyes shining. "You saved Scout's life, and you saved mine too," he said softly. Lily pressed her face to Scout's fur, understanding for the first time how sometimes rescuing someone else could heal a place inside you that you didn't even know was broken. In the swirl of attention and applause, one thing never changed. Lily's quiet promise. She would always be there for Scout, just as Scout had been there for her. And as the world took notice and laws began to change, the bond between girl and dog remained simple, steadfast, unbreakable. Early spring melted into a softer, greener Oregon. Where there'd once been police tape and sirens, the Parker home now hummed with the gentle sounds of laughter and hope. Lily sat on the porch steps, the wood warm beneath her legs, her sketchbook balanced on her knees. Amber, now proudly Scout again, dozed beside her, nose twitching as she dreamed, a silver star glinting on her collar in the morning sun. The neighborhood had changed. Where once folks eyed the woods with suspicion, they now waved at Lily and Scout on their daily walks. Strangers stopped to scratch Scout's ears, whispering, "That's the hero dog," their voices soft with wonder. Sometimes, kids would run over with their own pets, dogs with stubby tails, old cats with stiff legs, hoping Scout's bravery might rub off on them too. But for Lily, the biggest change was inside herself. She no longer flinched at shadows or hid when strangers came to the door. Her world had grown, the borders pushed back by courage and trust. At night she dreamed not of storms and fear, but of bright fields and Scout running free beside her, strong and unafraid. The town wanted to say thank you, to turn hope into something lasting. That's how the Lily program began. One morning, the mayor arrived at their doorstep, her shoes muddy, her hands full of blueprints. "We want to teach children how to work with dogs like Scout, how to train, to listen, to heal," she told Emily, her voice steady with pride. "Lily, you started something bigger than yourself." Within weeks, the community center transformed. Every Saturday, the gym filled with nervous children and patient police officers, a parade of retired canines at their sides. Lily, badge clipped to her shirt, stood at the front of the class. She watched as shy kids inched closer to the dogs, giggling when a tail wagged or a cold nose bumped their hand. Scout seemed to know she was needed. She moved through the group with quiet grace, her scars never hidden. She'd sit beside the most frightened child, head low, eyes gentle. Slowly, inevitably, each child would reach out, first a hesitant touch, then a full embrace. Word spread through the schools. Scout wasn't just a hero. She was proof that even the most broken could find their way back to love. Noah found his own path, too. He'd never admit it, but he'd been changed by the long, terrifying night in the storm. Now he spent his afternoons at the local animal shelter, gently coaxing battered strays from their cages. "They need someone to believe in them," he told Lily one evening as they walked home together, Scout ambling behind. "Just like you believed in Scout." He was learning how to listen, how to be patient, how to offer comfort without asking for anything in return. Marcus became a fixture in their lives. He visited every week, his uniform crisp, but his eyes softer than Lily remembered from the first desperate night he'd knocked on their door. He'd bring Scout treats, special bones, battered tennis balls, sometimes even a squeaky toy shaped like a police car. Scout would greet him with a joyful bark, bounding through the yard as if she'd never known fear. The bond between Marcus and the Parkers deepened. Emily, who'd once lived with worry as a constant companion, now found herself smiling more, sharing meals with Marcus, watching as Scout and Lily curled up together by the fire. Sometimes, she'd catch Marcus glancing at the kids with something like wonder in his eyes, awed by their resilience, their easy laughter. The way they'd turned trauma into healing. Scout's legend grew. She and Lily visited the local hospital, slipping quietly into rooms where children lay curled beneath blankets, too tired or afraid to speak. Scout would lie beside the beds, breathing slow and calm, her head in a child's lap. Sometimes a hand would reach out, shaky at first, to bury itself in Scout's soft fur. Every visit brought new smiles, new hope. Proof that even the smallest act of comfort could ripple outward, changing a day or a life. Lily watched it all with wide eyes and a full heart. She saw how the town began to change, not just in the way people talked about police dogs or corruption, but in the way they looked out for one another. Neighbors checked in, strangers helped at the animal shelter, kids left water bowls on their porches for stray pets. Scout's journey from lost and wounded to loved and heroic sparked something in everyone, a movement bigger than a single story. But the scars were never forgotten. They were there, always, a silver flash along Scout's flank, a catch in Noah's voice when a thunderstorm rolled in, the way Marcus squeezed Lily's shoulder before every hospital visit. Yet those scars became a kind of badge, evidence not just of pain, but of survival, of the strength that comes from standing together. One afternoon, Lily and Scout sat on the grass outside the community center, the sun warm, the air sweet with the smell of cut grass and blooming lilacs. Kids laughed nearby, practicing commands, their voices full of pride as their dogs sat and stayed, rolled and barked on cue. Noah plopped down beside them, tossing a frisbee for Scout. She caught it in midair, tail wagging, eyes shining. Lily grinned, her heart swelling with something she could hardly name. Love, gratitude, the simple, astonishing joy of being alive, together. As the day faded, Marcus joined them, settling onto the grass with a sigh. "You know," he said quietly, "I used to think the only way to heal was to forget. But you showed me different, Lily. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to remember, together." Scout nudged Marcus's hand, pressing her nose into his palm. The family, tattered, imperfect, stitched together by chance and choice, sat in the fading sunlight, surrounded by laughter, by hope, by the knowledge that even in a world full of darkness, there could always be new beginnings. The Day of Courage ceremony was unlike anything Lily had ever seen. It was late spring, and the world outside the community center glowed with sunlight, every tree newly green and every window thrown wide. Inside, the place was transformed. Banners with Scout's picture lined the walls, paper hearts drawn by children fluttered from the ceiling, and the seats were packed. Neighbors, classmates, police officers, teachers, and reporters, all drawn together for a single reason. Lily clung to Emily's hand as they entered, her heart pounding. Scout padded at her side, new collar gleaming, scars still visible but no longer hidden. Noah walked just behind, straightening his shirt, face serious. Marcus hovered by the door, his uniform crisp, but his eyes soft and full of emotion. A cheer rose as they walked in, the sound washing over Lily like a wave. She caught glimpses, Mrs. Delaney from next door, the shelter volunteers, her favorite librarian. Even the mayor was there, pinning a small medal to her own jacket. At the front of the room, a stage was set, a microphone waiting, sunlight streaming across the worn floorboards. The program began with stories, teachers sharing how Scout and Lily had inspired their students, kids from the Lily program talking about how much they'd learned, not just about dogs, but about bravery and kindness. A police officer who'd once doubted Marcus stood up, voice thick, and said, "We owe our department's healing to this family and this dog. They reminded us what courage really means." Then Marcus stepped onto the stage. He paused, gathering himself, then looked out at the sea of faces, so many of them changed by what had happened. His voice shook just a little as he spoke. "I spent months searching for Scout, believing I'd lost my partner and my hope. But what I found was a little girl braver than any cop I've ever known, and a dog who never gave up on love." "True courage," he said, glancing at Lily, "is not about being unafraid. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared and alone. That's what Lily and Scout taught me. They saved us all." People wiped away tears. Noah shifted, embarrassed, but with a proud, stubborn glint in his eyes. Emily squeezed Lily's hand so tight that her fingers tingled. The moment felt enormous. Too big for words, too bright to be hidden by the shadows of the past. Then it was Lily's turn. She took the microphone, legs trembling. The room went silent. Scout nudged her hand, grounding her, her big brown eyes full of reassurance. Lily took a breath and said, "People said Scout was dangerous or broken, but she was just scared and alone, like I was. Helping her made me braver. When you help someone, you're not scared by yourself anymore." Her voice cracked, but she kept going, looking right at the other kids. "You don't have to be big or perfect to be brave. You just have to care, even when it's hard." There was a hush, then a surge of applause. Scout wagged her tail, and a group of children, once afraid of big dogs, pressed forward to pet her, their laughter echoing. As the ceremony ended, Marcus knelt in front of Lily and Scout, drawing something from his pocket, a shining medal engraved with a heart and the word bravery. His voice was thick. "Lily, you saved my family. Scout, you saved all of us. Will you accept this?" Tears sparkled in Lily's eyes as she nodded. He pinned the medal to her dress, and Lily, grinning, took her favorite pink ribbon and tied it gently around Scout's neck. The crowd stood, applauding, some wiping away tears, others simply watching the little girl and the battered dog who had turned pain into hope. Scout barked once, soft, warm, a song of joy. The whole room seemed to exhale, held together for a moment by the bond of compassion and courage. As the celebration moved to the sunny lawn outside, people lingered to talk. Children clustered around Scout, petting her, asking Lily how she'd known what to do. Lily found herself saying the words she'd come to believe. Bravery is helping someone, even when you're scared, and forgiveness is letting go of what hurt you so you can help someone else. Marcus and Emily watched from the steps, their faces relaxed in a way Lily had never seen. Marcus, now a mentor to young officers, shared quiet words with a group of new recruits. Noah showed kids how to bandage a dog's paw. Even Emily laughed, a deep, free sound that made Lily's chest feel lighter. As the sun set, the mayor gathered everyone for one last moment. She spoke about the power of small acts, how one child's kindness could expose evil, change a police department, and spark a movement. It's not the medals or the headlines, she said. It's what we do every day, the little choices, the quiet moments of courage that shape our world. The day closed with Scout at Lily's feet, surrounded by friends new and old, a family made not by blood but by love and second chances. Lily looked around at Marcus, Noah, her mom, and the people Scout had helped heal. The town was different now, safer and braver, because one girl had listened to a cry in the woods and decided to help. As the crowd dispersed, Lily hugged Scout tight. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did." The Oregon sun poured through the wide hospital windows, golden and alive, washing everything in warmth that felt new. Lily Parker sat quietly on the edge of a child's bed, Scout pressed close at her side, the dog's soft fur warm beneath her small hand. The little boy in the bed, Ethan, 6, cheeks pale and eyes wary, watched Scout with suspicion, the kind born of long weeks in hospitals and too many scary grown-up words. Lily just smiled, patient and calm, as she stroked Scout's head. Scout had become a legend in the months since the day of courage. Her scars no longer whispered of violence or fear, but of survival, of hope reclaimed. At the hospital, children begged for her visits. Doctors smiled when she padded into the halls. Nurses stopped to give her treats. Scout, for her part, seemed to know who needed her most. She would seek out the loneliest, the sickest, the children with shaking hands or eyes too old for their faces. Lily leaned toward Ethan, her voice soft. "She's just like you know. She had to be really brave. She was scared sometimes too." Ethan glanced at the big shepherd, then at Lily, then, very slowly, reached out. His hand, small and trembling, disappeared into Scout's thick fur. Scout let out a gentle huff and lay down, chin on Ethan's pillow. The boy grinned for the first time in days. Lily caught the moment and tucked it away in her memory, a tiny act of bravery that mattered as much as any headline. The Lily program had become more than a local project. It was a movement now, reaching out beyond the small Oregon town. Retired K-9s from across the state found new homes with children who needed comfort, who needed to learn about trust and courage. Lily visited schools with Scout, teaching kids how to approach a dog, how to listen with their hearts, how to see beyond scars. Noah and Emily joined in too. Noah, quieter these days but steadier, helped at the shelter, teaching younger kids the simple rules of kindness. Go slow, be gentle, and always give second chances. Emily, her laughter returned, found meaning in helping families bond with their new companions. She was no longer just Lily's worried mother. She was a voice for second chances, an advocate for children and animals who needed it most. Marcus's role changed too. He wasn't just a police officer anymore. He was a mentor, visiting schools, speaking at community meetings about reform and compassion. Sometimes he and Emily would share long talks over coffee, laughter ringing from the kitchen, the sound easy in a house that had known so much fear. Even the community seemed different. Neighbors checked on each other, new programs sprang up for animal welfare, and every lost dog in town was treated like someone's hero in disguise. But the heart of it all was still Lily and Scout. Each week, they returned to the hospital and the local schools. Lily would stand in front of a classroom, Scout calm and regal by her side, and say, "You don't have to be big or loud or perfect to be brave. You just have to care about someone, even when it's hard." Sometimes she'd look out and see kids watching her with wide eyes, or teachers nodding quietly, understanding that bravery was never about fearlessness, but about action in spite of it. One day, a little girl at the back of the classroom raised her hand. "Were you scared?" she asked. Lily paused, then nodded. "I was really scared, but Scout was scared too. We helped each other." There was a hush, then a wave of whispers, 1,000 small seeds of courage taking root. After each visit, Lily would wrap her arms around Scout's neck. "You changed everything," she'd whisper, her voice thick with gratitude. "For me, for all of us." Scout would nuzzle Lily's hair, eyes soft and content, her tail thumping a slow, happy rhythm. The town never forgot what Lily and Scout had done. On the first anniversary of the night that changed everything, the mayor dedicated a new park, a green space filled with flowers and winding paths, a bronze statue of a girl and her dog at its heart. Children raced along the trails, dogs chasing joyfully at their heels. The plaque at the statue's base read, "For all who are brave enough to care." That afternoon, Lily's family gathered beneath a canopy of maples. Emily smiled, tears shining in her eyes, as she watched Noah show a new volunteer how to coax a shy puppy out of its shell. Marcus tossed a tennis ball for Scout, who caught it with easy grace, her scars glinting in the sunlight, a badge of everything she'd survived. As the sun set, Lily sat with Scout on the grass, the world golden and full of promise. She turned to the crowd of kids and families, her voice strong and sure. If this story touched your heart, please like and follow our channel. And remember, never be afraid to help, even if it feels hard or scary. A little bit of courage and kindness can change the world, one friend at a time. For a moment, the whole world seemed to pause, caught in the simple, perfect truth of those words. Scout licked Lily's cheek, wagging her tail, surrounded by laughter and hope. The narrator's voice faded in as the sun dipped below the trees. In every scar there's a story. In every act of bravery, there's hope for a better tomorrow. Be someone's guardian. Be the difference. And with that, the story of Lily and Scout, of heartbreak and healing, of small choices and mighty courage, became part of the town's legacy, a living promise that even the darkest night could give way to a brighter day. End of story.